Hi. I was going to try and do a live stream, and so here's the story. I make music. I'm a musician. I have a channel on YouTube that I put music on, and people watch it because they want to see music. But I have a lot of other things that I want to talk about. This is a political video. So if you don't want to talk politics with me, get out now. Save yourself. This is heads up right away. This is going to get very political and very personal. And I wanted to try it out because I think it's important that people can say what they think in a free society. And I think it's important to live your life with integrity and to be able to speak your mind. There is a time and a place. Sometimes you don't always just say anything that's on your mind. You know what they say about religion and politics, sex and money. These are all great topics of conversation if you want to make a lot of friends, right? But I think I want to start a podcast soon. And I had an idea for this video, which I'm going to do now, which is kind of, I think it would make a good live stream, but here's the problem. I don't want to put it on my main channel, and I have a second channel on YouTube, but it doesn't have access to live streaming because it has like no subscribers because I'm nobody. And I thought maybe I could put it on Rumble, but you have to get a couple of subscribers before you can live stream on Rumble. And I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm thinking that I want to put my original stuff on Rumble, 'cause I would rather people go there instead of just everything being on YouTube. Which might tell you a little bit about what my politics are right off the bat. Once again, warning: this is gonna be a spicy one. I'm not gonna be afraid to get spicy with my comments here. Where I'm just gonna say what I think, and you can disagree, and we'll let the chips fall where they may. So, it's the first time I've ever done something like this. Today I want to talk about how to vote, because okay, you would think it would be pretty simple, right? What do you mean how to vote? I know the people I want to vote for and I go to my polling place and I vote, right? Well, how do you know who you want to vote for? I want to get into that. I had the idea to do this video because I do my research for elections and I start yelling at news articles, and I think my family is tired of hearing me yelling, so I'm going to yell at you instead. I'm going to yell into a microphone. I'm going to rant at the camera. And hopefully I think not only it'll be a good outlet for me, but I think I also have a couple of ideas that are worth disseminating here. 'Cause people tend to get very tribal in the way that they think about politics, and they don't take the time to do research. So my message here today is, first of all, do your research. Everybody says it's important to get out and vote. They say that it's important to exercise your right to vote. We have this amazing opportunity, this freedom. People shed their blood and died to give us the opportunity to take part in the governing process of our country. You have a right to vote that is pretty special, and you should use it. I agree. However, there's a lot of dumb people out there. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say there's a lot of dumb people. There's a lot of uninformed people. In fact, I myself practice what I preach. I have been the uninformed person. In the past, there have been a couple of elections I didn't vote in because, quite frankly, I didn't do my research and I thought it would be irresponsible for me to vote. I think that you should be informed and vote. And if you're not informed, you shouldn't vote because there are people who are informed who will make a better choice than you. And this is serious business. If you don't know at least a little bit, at least kind of know. I'm not saying you have to be a political analyst or an expert or something, but don't just vote for somebody because they have an R or a D next to their name. I'll tell you right out the bat here, I'm a conservative. I tend to vote Republican. I lean right. That's the ABCs of me. But there's been at least one election where I voted for more Democrats than Republicans because I thought they were the best people for the job, which leads me to point number 2 of my message here. Number 1 is be informed and do your research. Number 2 is remember you are voting for a person, okay? You're not voting for a party. I believe in individualism. I believe that an individualist philosophy is a good way to look at the world, a good way to structure public policy. I think one of the things that the Western world has gotten right is that we look at people as individuals. Jordan Peterson articulated that very well, and I like the way he said that, so I stole it from him just now. But I've been a fan of individualist philosophy for a long time. And the basic premise is there's no such thing as a forest. Because you can't touch a forest. It's not its own thing. There are trees in the forest. There's no forest. Okay, that's not to say that there is no such thing as a forest exactly. We understand what a forest is. If you say that's a forest, it's a group of trees. It's a whole little ecosystem. It's got animals and stuff running around in it, right? It's a forest. You can see that it's a forest, but it's not its own distinct entity. It's made up of trees. There's so many different things that make up the forest. It's not actually a thing with its own God-given inalienable rights. This is an analogy, of course, for people. There's no such thing as a country, really. There are people who make up the country. Every single individual human being, I believe, has dignity and value because they're made in the image of God. And that's a foundational principle of how I look at the world and my philosophy. So, given that that's true, I think we have to respect people's rights at an individual level. When we are electing people to office, it's important for us to remember, therefore, that we are electing individuals, because individuals have their own will. They have their own consciousness. They make their own decisions. And if you vote based on somebody's affiliation with a political party or some group or somebody else, said that they're good or like them just on that alone, then we're in for a lot of trouble. You're not that I think that's lazy. I'm going to call it lazy. I'm sorry if that offends you, but I think it's a lazy way to go about voting. It's a lazy way to think. And I think that it actually is a huge issue that we have today. On the right, in the Republican Party, one of the things that I'm noticing as I watch politics and I follow these things is that the Republicans are nominating crappy candidates, and candidate quality matters. however you feel about the 2022 election, that should have been a lesson that we took away from this. Like, hello, you have to nominate good people. And I'm noticing that there's a lot of Republicans or conservatives, people on the right, that are talking about how irritated they are that some people won't just hop on the bandwagon for certain candidates. Maybe Donald Trump is a classic great example of this. People are talking about his 2024 run and saying, well, if he's the nominee, then like we all have to vote for him because we have to stop Joe Biden or we have to stop. Okay, I am just old enough to remember when we had to stop Barack Obama or Bill Clinton. I'm just old enough to remember like several election cycles and to have seen how we always just have to stop somebody. Politics in America always seems to be about how it's not about you have to vote for this person because they're going to be the best for the job and they really have a vision. It's about, or at least the way that people are trying to influence politics seems to center around, we have to stop that person. This is the problem. You want to know how to motivate people to turn out and vote and believe in a candidate? You want to know how to win elections? Find people with vision. Nominate good candidates. Remember, these people, we're supposed to be voting for individuals, for people who are going to be in these offices. The Republican Party doesn't win the presidency. It doesn't win the governorship. It doesn't win a Senate seat. There might be a lot of senators that affiliate themselves with the Republican Party. How many of them really agree on the core values of the Republican Party? How much do you agree with the core values of the Republican Party? Okay, and I'm assuming that if you're kind of a lefty, then you're not watching this video anymore, but even if you are a Democrat or you tend to lean more left, this can apply on both sides, and I think it's a good message for people to hear. Whether you're right or left, this is something that is essential, an essential point for us to get through our skulls as Americans. We have to stop the tribalism. And it's not just because we have to have unity and we have to be more unified and we should all think the same way. It's because we're not thinking. If you're casting your vote in a tribal way and not even analyzing the person you're voting for, you haven't thought at all about your vote, and that's the problem. Well, that's a big part of the problem, okay? If we dig down deep enough, I'm going to tell you I think Jesus is the answer. That's me. But even if a lot of the people in this country don't agree with me on that point, but they at least think through who they're voting for, I think we'll have at least a decent place to live. And that's something that I think we all want, right? So this video is about how to vote. And I'm going to okay, confession time. I usually do a lot of my research the night before the election, which is dumb. Don't do what I do, okay? Don't do this. Don't don't do your research right before the election. You should do your research ahead of the election. Okay, so that's not entirely true, of course, because I see a lot of political ads like everybody else, and I usually have a good idea who I'm probably going to vote for, okay? After that tirade about tribalism, I'm going to say broad strokes. The differences are so stark, and it's like the politics in our country are so polarized and so extreme on both sides that it's like, well, of course I'm going to vote for the Republican, whoever they are, probably. But no matter how polarized it gets, I think it's still important to do your research and to know what person you're voting for and not just vote for them because they're affiliated with a party one way or the other. And this is also something that I want to do because I'm so frustrated with the conservative movement and with Republicans. And I thought about this the last election cycle. I said I need to do a video like this where I just walk through like a ballot and show how easy it is just to do this basic, simple, pathetic amount of research that I do in order to cast an informed vote, which is really pathetic because it's really last minute, and it's, you know, in the age of the internet, it's not that hard though. Just Google these people, or well, not Bing. What's the other one? Use Brave search or some, DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo, I think, is kind of compromised too, but whatever. Even on Google, you'll find your local paper's articles or whatever. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to walk through my ballot and I'm going to talk about the candidates that I'm looking at. I don't want to get too specific, because, like, okay, there's 3 referendums on the ballot that are statewide. There's one statewide race. I'll get specific about the candidates there. All the other stuff on the ballot are for really, really local races. And I think if I get too specific about it, it's going to make it, like, kind of clear where I live. And I don't want to dox myself. But I can at least admit that I live in Wisconsin. I don't think that's a secret at all. So we've got a race for the Supreme Court. And in case you're not checking the time on the video and you watch this in the future, it is April 3rd. There's going to be an election tomorrow, April 4th, 2023. So I'll get really specific about the statewide races. I'm going to try to keep it kind of vague about the more local things, but I'll try and parse. I'll read out loud what I'm reading and kind of parse it in a way that it won't be too specific. And I can highlight some of these things that I'm seeing that are really irritating. They're irritating to me as a voter, and they're irritating to me as somebody who follows politics, who is not a professional political person, but, I mean, come on. All right. Let's start at the top of the ticket and go down. I was looking at some of these more local races, but we'll just start. Janet Protasiewicz and Daniel Kelly are running for Supreme Court in Wisconsin. And I'm going to bring this up so you can see what I see and study along with me here. We'll just use Google. This is a race, and I'll talk personally about my feelings. I'm going to get real personal and honest about this. This is a race where, oh yeah, quite frankly, it's clear who I'm going to vote for. I lean right, and just based on the political ads that I've seen so far, the abortion is a huge issue, right? And they've made this race all about abortion. Some of the ads have made it about a couple other things, but I'm pro-life. I'm going to vote for the pro-life guy. However, I have to say that I am old enough to remember when he was on the ballot before, a few years ago. I could be mistaken about this. I, I heard somewhere, I think it was on a local radio show, that he has run multiple times in the past. Dan Kelly has run multiple times and lost each time. And somehow, after the last primary, we ended up with him as the nominee for this general election. Why? Why is somebody who has lost already, I believe, the same race, the Republican nominee? I don't remember her name now because I have the memory of a goldfish. Maybe I should look it up real quick. When was the last election? The primary was probably in February. Dun 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 dun. Let's just try Wisconsin Supreme Court primary 2023. Wisconsin Supreme Court election results 2023. Is this for the primary? Well, maybe they have some information. Jennifer Doro. It was Jennifer Doro in the primary, February 21st. Look at this. Look how split they were. Okay, now the really kind of disheartening thing is you say, wow, they were really close. And there's so many votes for both of those candidates compared to this person. Do the math here. 21.8% of the vote. If my calculator will come up here. You probably can't see it. I don't know. Can you see it? That's something I need to figure out real quick. No, you can't. That's fine though. 21.8% plus 24.2% is 46% of the vote. This is still less than half. We know who's going to win already. Clearly. It's Janet. I mean, these people voted for a Democrat. Is Everett a Democrat? Let's fact check that. Everett Mitchell. Do they have a search window? We'll just go back to Google. Oh, yeah, this was his website. I remember this. Oh, he's still running. Is he? He can't be. I'm I'm fairly certain that he was running as a Democrat. So what my point is, this this election is over already. This is frustrating to watch. I mean, as a conservative voter who really cares about the unborn and who thinks without even doing any research that this is a very polarized election and probably a big deal. I don't even have any hope that this guy is going to win. First of all, because we didn't even get half of the primary votes on the Republican side, and second of all, because he's already lost, like, I think more than once. And they're running him again? I believe I did vote for Jennifer Doro in the primary, by the way. Okay. Vote for Dan Kelly. Great. I usually like to just kind of see if I can go straight to like the issues if they have a page. What is voter resources? It's information on voting. Meet the candidates. Yeah, I like to go straight to just like, what do they think? And sometimes I've noticed this annoying thing on the internet is that a lot of candidates will produce videos now where you can just watch this video and get to know what I think. And I don't know, something about that. I just feel like I don't have time, man. Because, of course, part of that is because I'm doing my research at the last minute, right? I'm not a perfect person. Ruling against executive overreach and safer at home order. Okay, I don't know a lot about that, but it sounds good. Protected First Amendment rights and academic freedom by ruling in favor of suspended professor. I'd have to know more about the case to really feel strongly about that, I think. Okay, this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. What the hell? How? How did that not get fixed already? It's election night. Well, it's not election night. It's the night before election night. 1-1. This person can't count. Okay, now I'm smart enough to figure out this guy did not make this website. Maybe he had some oversight or he gave an approval or something, but this guy didn't make this website. He has a team that's campaigning with him and probably made the website and made most of this for him. Okay? I'm sure this is not his fault. Okay, and you could also make the argument, is this the end of the world? Like somebody just made a mistake and wrote the wrong number. What does that say about their ability to be a judge? Take that statement by itself. What does that say about their ability to be a judge? I mean, on the one hand, I would think, well, that's just a stupid thing. Why would you get bent out of shape about that? Like, that's not the important issues that matter. On the other hand, what does that say about their ability to be a judge? I see this so consistently across right-wing candidates' websites. The Republican conservative candidates. So much of this nonsense where it's just they look completely incompetent. And I don't think that they are. Some of them probably are, but like it's like they're not even trying. Or like maybe all the people that go into politics are just stupid or something. I don't know what is causing this to be so cringy. It's always so cringy. And then we wonder why we keep struggling. I hope I'm not yelling too loudly. This is why I need to make a video. Okay, number 2, which is really number 3. Upheld Second Amendment rights. If he can't figure out which one is number 2, how is he going to be sure that he's ruling on the Second Amendment? I feel a little bit like Sideshow Bob in that episode of The Simpsons where he's just making fun of Mayor Quimby but not actually making any real points. because he's a clown. Okay, he ruled against the city's concealed carry limitations. Great. That sounds good. Prevented unelected bureaucrats from exercising undue power, promoting judicial conservatism. How? I guess they cite a case there. I don't have time to figure out to go and read that. Okay, this is not a thing. This is not a thing that he did. Again, Justice Dan Kelly's proven record. Justice Kelly, a clear choice for Wisconsin Supreme Court, committed to defending constitutional rights and preventing judicial activism. That's not a thing. That's not part of his record. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, these are rulings that they're pointing to say, look at how conservative he is, and look at his record. They added number 4, which is actually number 5, and it's not even a thing that's part of his record. It's just a statement. A subjective statement. And then they attack his opponent. Let a sexual predator walk free despite reoffending. Gave a kidnapper. I'm probably not allowed to say that word. Handed out a shocking non-custodial sentence for a man guilty of kidnapping. Well, I mean, okay, and this is a thing that I've noticed about judicial races. This is not terribly convincing when they say, this judge made a decision that let a predator walk free. How do you know that they were a predator? Isn't that the point of the justice system, to figure out who's guilty, to prove guilt? We're innocent until proven guilty. That means some of the people are innocent. A good judge who found an innocent person would let them go. You can't just come along and say, well, they were guilty. You're not the judge. You didn't sit through the case. You're not on the jury. I mean, that's not like... That's not going to change my mind about who I'm voting for. That's not going to change anybody's mind, because it's all on a case-by-case basis. It's from the judicial system. It's not... These aren't cases that are dealing with, like, matters of public policy or you know, the adjudication of laws passed by the legislature. Because that would be an issue that I think is relevant to how fit somebody is to serve as a justice in a fairly high office, which will no doubt become a fairly political thing. A lot of people who are running for judicial seats will say that they want to get the politics out of the courts and stop judicial activism, because the courts are just supposed to just rule on the law as it's written instead of legislating from the bench. But well, part of the judicial branch's role is to adjudicate laws passed by the legislature and say that they are unconstitutional and should be struck down. That's part of the function of the judicial branch of government. Do you really want people who are going to sit on the Supreme Court as judges who say, just anything the legislature passes, we're going to uphold it no matter what? I don't think so. This is necessarily a political office. So you're going to have to examine what laws they would probably find worth upholding and what is worth striking down and what their political stance is. These cases are not reflective of issues that I care about, issues of public policy that I care about as a voter, because these are individual cases. These people might be innocent or guilty. Is there a public debate about whether or not these things are wrong? Is there really a public debate about whether or not people shouldn't do, like, the stuff that they're highlighting here that I probably can't say out loud? Is there a public debate about whether or not you're supposed to feed your teenager or be nice to your dog? I Fair play, like okay, maybe she did make some horrible decisions in these cases, but I would have to go back and look at the individual cases. How many cases has she presided over as a judge? Like, it's just, this is not an effective way to change people's minds, and that's really my point. This is sloppy. This is not part of his record. These these are a little bit better. These points, at least the substance of what they're pointing to here, these are matters of public policy. First Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights, unelected bureaucrats exercising undue power, individual liberties, the safer at home order. This is a subjective statement, and they can't even count from 1 to 5 properly. Who in their right mind, you know, that is a normal person and doesn't have forever to spend researching the people they're voting for are going to look at this and say, oh yeah, he definitely looks like the smarter person here because he used 1 twice in a row. It's so frustrating to me. Soros-backed fund spends millions to turn Wisconsin Supreme Court liberal. Well, I mean, of course they did. To defeat the conservative candidate for the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Would you expect them to do anything else? What's in the news? I mean, and usually I'll spend enough time on a candidate's website, even if it's somebody I was already thinking I'm probably going to vote for. I'm going to check them out, and I'm going to try to spend enough time here that I find something that makes me go, yep, yeah, definitely, that's my guy. I want to vote for him because, whoo, that's a big, important issue. And so far, he has 3 tabs on his website. One is just information about how to vote. The other is the issues. I've visited those 2, and I have yet to find that piece of information. These are all hit pieces. This is it? This is all just complaining that the Democratic candidate is effective at campaigning. His news blog here, normally they have they'll have a blog or every time the candidate goes and does a press conference or meets with somebody to do an interview, or they're on a radio show or something, they'll have a feed that you can go back in time and see the interviews that they did and listen to them and watch them or read the article or whatever. This is 3 pieces that were all published about the same time. They're all about the Democratic challenger, and they're basically complaining. 2 of these are complaining that they're good at winning the election, and the other one, whether you like it or not, whether you think it's fair or not, and this one is just like slinging mud. Is this going to tell me anything? Justice Kelly is a proven defender of our constitutional rights and an unwavering advocate for the rule of law. With his extensive experience as a litigator, law clerk, special prosecutor. Yeah, okay, he did stuff. Uniquely qualified. I don't know if he's uniquely qualified there, buddy. To uphold the principles of judicial conservatism that make Wisconsin a great state. There are principles of judicial conservatism that make Wisconsin a great state. Okay. I mean, let's run with it, I guess. At a time when our constitutional rights are under attack from all sides, we need Justice Kelly's constitutional conservatism more than ever. Whether it's defending our freedom of speech, protecting the free market, or standing up for religious liberty, Justice Kelly has been a consistent voice for conservative values throughout his career. His opponent, Janet Protasiewicz, represents a threat to the rule of law with a record of imposing her political beliefs on legal decisions. For example, I haven't seen a single example of her doing that on his website, and most of his website is attacking her. By supporting Justice Kelly, you can help ensure that our Wisconsin Supreme Court remains a bulwark against judicial activism, defending our constitutional rights and liberties for generations to come. Blah, 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 blah. And then it's a whole bunch more attacks on Janet for being too easy on supposed criminals. That's a very disappointing website. This is so frustrating. And then we wonder, right? And then we wonder, why isn't the conservative winning? How about make it look like he can count to 5? And just to be a good American, and because I'm so frustrated with that website, I have to look up Janet. It's just so frustrating knowing I'm probably going to vote for him even though he hasn't convinced me. And I'm going to lose. He's going to lose. They're trying the Trump thing. Stop. No jail, Janet. Janet Protasiewicz. Oh, look, a list of endorsements. That's something I didn't see on Dan Kelly's website. Oh, look, a donate button. That's something I don't remember seeing on Dan Kelly's website. Why are we so bad at this? Look at just how much more relaxing her website is. Look, there she is next to a bunch of smart-looking law books. She even has a little logo. I wonder if I can pull up and just do a side-by-side comparison here. This is ridiculous. Okay, and this is the classic thing. The left and the Democrats have always been better at messaging and branding, right? But I mean, look at this. Where's Dan? Scary. It's all like scary and anxious and meet Dan Kelly. How about a photo of Dan Kelly next to meet Dan Kelly? Could we do that maybe? Look at his picture. He's a real happy guy. That's yeah. He looks sane and stable. Look at this lady. That's like, you're a high school guidance counselor or something. That's your Your mom's friend that you would talk to for advice. she the the friend that didn't get married and runs her own business and is pretty smart. And she actually smiles. And the whole website, just because it's very blue, which unfortunately they stole that color. It's just like, oh yeah, look at that, so streamlined. Look, she's got the man of the people argument because she was a waitress. Later served as an adjunct professor of law. And I gotta say, this is just my personal opinion. But when people say I graduated from this place and then I went back to teach there, that's usually a sign that like their education was not very effective, or there's something wrong with the institution they went to, or which I know isn't necessarily true, but it's like, oh man, you're supposed to graduate and then like go do cool stuff somewhere else. I think there's a little bit of an incentive that institutions of higher education have to employ their graduates, because they don't want it to look like they are handing out degrees to people who become unsuccessful. So I actually had somebody from the school that I went to say, "Oh, well, we got to find you a job here," cuz I was out of work at the time. We got to find something for you to do here at this place where you went to school. Cuz we can't have out of work graduates. That would make it sound like it's not worth going to college or something. Okay, former prosecutor. Has been elected twice without opposition. They actually have links. Download high quality photos and video of Janet. A letter from. Oh, and look, something she supposedly wrote personally herself. Maybe she did. I don't know. I'm just saying, supposedly. 35 years. That's a nice big number. And, okay. Ah, this makes me not like her right off the bat, because we don't have a democracy, and a judge should know that. Our system works because the law is predictable. You can read the Constitution, the statutes, and case law and know what to expect. Under attack by radical right-wing extremists. Okay. Whatever. We know it's not up to the government to decide who we can or can't love. Yeah, but apparently it is up to the government to settle disputes between families over custody and inheritance and stuff like that, which is why marriage is a legal matter in the first place, because it's not just about love, or we wouldn't care. I I find it comical, and this is just a little bit virtue signally, isn't it? Because what does that have to do with anything? We know the 2020 election resulted in Joe Biden's election. And why why do you care? Why are you mentioning it? What does it have to do with you? It's like, I don't know. Time to stop acting like a political body and uphold the Constitution and the law. They should only take cases on original jurisdiction in the rarest of circumstances, and they need to stop coming up with tortured and convoluted reasoning to reach their favorite outcomes. I've got simple Wisconsin values. If you work hard and play by the rules, the government should leave you alone. That makes me laugh. And because a Democrat saying the government should leave you alone is just funny. There's something that's just funny about that. And if your rights are violated, you should get a fair shot to demand justice. I'm running to restore integrity. Yep. Well, but I mean, I didn't notice any spelling or grammatical errors, at least. Good for her. That's more than I can say for a lot of right-wing candidates. And she has some very bipartisan blanket political statements worked in there. You know, things that right-wing folks might find themselves agreeing with just to kind of like, come to the dark side. Endorsements. Notice how all of her endorsements have pictures of people's faces. So you can actually see the smiley people that like her and how popular she is. Oh, and it's sectioned off with the most important ones at the top and then like a whole nother list. Pshaw. Organizations. Ugh. Okay. I don't really... So here's the deal. Here's the thing. Here's the reason I'm making this video in a nutshell. This is a pathetic amount of research. I can't believe that we're approaching an hour into this video and we've only covered one of the races on the ballot, and I intend to go through the whole thing, but this is a pathetic amount of research. I can already tell who I would vote for. It's not that hard. It doesn't even take this long if you're not making a video about it. So, dear viewer, please do your homework, for the love of God. Just at least at least Google search the candidates on the ballot and look up their websites. Maybe find a clip of them on YouTube or something, or you know. Sometimes I dig a little deeper, especially if I need to. But please, for the love of God, do your research, even if it's at the last minute, even if it's just kind of a cursory glance, just to confirm what you thought. If all the research that you ever do on the candidates that are on the ballot in the election you're voting in is to listen to the political ads that are popping up during all of your shows, you're not casting an informed vote. So, I gotta write this down as I go, too. I feel like that would be common sense, to take notes, but by the way, in case it hasn't occurred to you, I don't know if anybody has ever had the experience of actually doing research and then going into the voting booth and saying, oh shoot, I don't remember who I wanted to vote for in that dinky local race that I had never heard of before, because there are no ads for it because it's too localized. I don't remember. I guess I'll just not... Hopefully you don't vote in that situation, but God forbid you would just pick one at random or flip a coin. If you actually take notes and write it down ahead of time, then you remember who you're going to vote for. I think I spelled his name wrong. It doesn't matter. Okay. I have to pull up the sample ballot again because the website that tells you what's going to be on the ballot times out if you leave it alone for too long. Da 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 da. Let's keep going down the ticket. And by the way, this is another point that I wanted to make. Make sure that you vote in your local elections. If you really want things to change, if you really want to have an impact, the more local the election is, the more important it is for you to vote. Truly. I mean, you should vote in all the elections, do your research, but the way that our system works, the people that are closer to you on a local level actually have more power to do things. Not only that, but there's less people available that they are appointed to govern, elected to govern. There's less people available to vote for them to get them in or out of that office. For like a mayor, for instance, say your city is 10,000 people. There's only 10,000 people voting in that election. It boggles my mind why we do this thing in American politics where it's like the president is the most important thing in the world and the only election really worth voting in is for president, and everybody turns out to vote for president, and it's like, well, what is it, 300 million people? I think it's more than that now. There's 300 million people in the country. Okay, not all of them are legal to vote, like they might be kids or something. That's still a lot of people. That's a lot of people that are going to dilute your vote, and there's a lot more room for all of this tampering nonsense and like messing potential for messing with the outcome. When you have that many people involved in that many districts and that much of an apparatus administering the election, there's that many more opportunities to mess with it. Not so with a local election. When you vote for your mayor, if you live in a small town, you probably know a couple of the people working at the polls. You know a couple of the people who are in charge of administering the election. There's more transparency and accountability at a more localized level. It's harder to get away with stuff. It's more likely that the election actually has integrity and your vote is going to count more, and those people have more power over your life. Vote in the local stuff. That's my rant about that. It's very important. Let's see. I gotta be careful. Next race. Like I said, I want to be careful not to get too specific here. Okay. Sometimes something I like to do is bring up their websites, the candidates' websites, right next to each other. Like in different tabs. Just bring them all up, especially in like a primary when there's a lot of people running for the same seat. Just put their website in a different tab and then close it as you find out who you don't like. Usually it's pretty easy to just find something that you're like, up, they're out, if it's a really crowded field and there's a lot of people running. Okay, so this is an election for circuit court judge. I can say that at least. They have a scrolling banner on the website. Proven trial experience, common sense values. That's all it says over and over again. Join our movement now. Okay, resume stuff. Did that. He has a family. Went to school. Retired prosecutor. Proud to announce that I am running. I am a veteran prosecutor. Spent his entire professional career as a prosecutor. DA's office. Yeah. He did a bunch of stuff. Looks competent enough. This is written in the first person, so it sounds like he's writing it. Seems to have good spelling and grammar. Has a list of endorsements. None of them really jump out at me as being like, oh yeah, well, if he likes him. It's just a lot of testimonial stuff. Photo gallery. He is not the most photogenic person, unfortunately. That's not his fault, though. Well, it's not entirely his fault. No! No! At the bottom of his website. Oh, man! I'm pretty sure. Oh, well, I'm pretty sure this is the conservative guy. This is the right-wing candidate. He has... My cats are insane. He has a tab on his website at the top of the website. He has one tab. That tab is home. I'm already on the home page. There's only one page. It's the home page. This does not matter. That's fine. Okay. I firmly believe in the United States Constitution as the legal bedrock of our nation. He really sounds like the conservative right-wing guy in this election. I don't know. He's not very explicit about it. Some of his endorsements I recognize as being conservative people. But this kills me. At the bottom of the website, we can work together to make, insert place here, safe for democracy. That's your tagline? Safe? Democracy? What are you saying, Thomas? You don't like democracy? No. Okay. I get it. I make a big thing about how we don't have a democracy. It's a republic, and that it's a big deal. It matters. Okay? It does matter. But I get it. We have a strong democratic tradition, and we do believe in voting on things, a democratic process. We believe that, if there's a question of policy that's like, well, it could go this way or it could go that way, let's ask the people what they think and get their input on it. And that's a democratic process, and that's a great thing, and I love that. I'm pro democraticness. Yeah. Consent of the governed. Sure. So in that sense, like, Yeah, fine. We have democracy in our political process. But what the hell? What does that mean? We can work together to make this safe for democracy. Is it dangerous? Who thinks it's dangerous? And more importantly, who cares? Freedom isn't safe. I don't want safety. I want freedom. Of course, I do want safety, because who doesn't want to be safe? The thing is, there is no perfect safety. How do you keep your kids safe? Do you wrap the world in bubble wrap? Or do you teach them not to ride their bicycles off cliffs? You have to instill competence in your children. Teach them to understand that the world is a dangerous place, but also how to live and deal with that fact competently. And then the world becomes a safer place for them. And they have the freedom to go and do what they want to do. These are important concepts. We can make this safe for democracy. Who thinks it's dangerous? Okay. I don't know. He has a lot of good endorsements. There's nothing here. He seems competent. I'll give him that. It's competent enough. Let's look at the other website. It's a lady running against him. I will continue to follow the letter of the law and will not legislate from the bench. I mean, okay, great. Woo! She got the endorsement of the guy who retired. So that bodes well. Okay, he was a municipal court judge since 2015. Handled about 6,000 to 7,000 cases a year. Did a bunch of stuff. Why should I vote for you? Let's just get down to it. Why should I vote for you? Been extremely busy. This photo compilation takes you on her journey, speaking at events, attending fundraisers. Well, I mean, of course she has. Who isn't when you're running a campaign? Intelligent, articulate, no-nonsense individual with a demonstrated passion for equal justice and a commitment to the rule of law. Ooh. I'm reading the endorsements. There's nothing really provocative about any of this. I mean, this is just not helpful. It's very straightforward. I mean, props to her. It's very straightforward. Well put together website. Very. I don't know who to vote for now. We're going to have to dig deeper. So I'm going to search both their names at the same time. See what comes up. Here's an article. Here's an article in our local paper. They're running for a 6-year term. Okay. Um, just because I'm not mentioning the candidates by name because I don't want to get super specific about more localized races and dox myself, I'm going to refer to them as the the dude and the lady. The dude I think is the conservative in this race, and the lady I think is the liberal. Um, but that honestly is not totally clear to me at this point, even after looking at both of their websites. So it says the dude suspended his campaign in January, but announced his return to the race in March when a family member's health issues resolved. Well, okay, whatever. He's being thoughtful about his time and energy. It's a good thing, I guess. Can't really judge him for that. That's about a different election, that paragraph. Okay, the paper asked the candidates about their experience and judicial philosophies, and here's what they said. It's just background information about the candidates. What makes you a good candidate for circuit court judge? The dude said 34 years of experience prosecuting cases and common sense values. I'm an assistant district attorney. I am used to handling a heavy caseload, very familiar with trial procedures and rules of evidence. I can begin trying cases immediately. Vast history of knowledge and experience. Cats. I have the right temperament to listen attentively and patiently to litigants and witnesses and have an open mind. Tori says, I have 8 years of judicial experience. Oh, I just mentioned her name. Just forget I don't care that much. I think people probably know what city I live in anyway. I have 8 years of judicial experience, and I have. Now that I think about it, I might say that on my website. And that's still not that specific. It's not that tiny of a town. I have 8 years of judicial experience, and I have a broad legal background. I have practiced in nonprofit, government, and private practice settings. I am proficient in many areas of the law. Blah, 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 blah. I'm a good listener. Whatever. Not helpful. Describe your judicial philosophy. The dude says statutes have specific meanings and a judge should not substitute his or her personal definition for the common definitions. I am a strict constructionist. I will embarrass I will admit that I don't 100% feel confident that I know what that means, although I've heard it used before. Who looks to these common definitions of each statute, a judge must listen attentively and ask questions if they don't understand a response to ensure they make the most informed decisions in cases. Must always keep up. Yeah. The lady says, I believe in judicial restraint. It is a judge's job to enforce the law as written, not write the law. I do not believe that it is appropriate for a judge to legislate from the bench. A circuit court judge should give substantial deference to the legislature in determining any constitutional issues. I could go either way on that. I have a proven track record of enforcing the law as written in my 8 years as a municipal judge. What qualities should voters look for in a judge? How do you exemplify those qualities? A judge should be a judgy judge. I'm just going to skip that. I have a limited amount of time here. What is a top issue with the court system now? How will you address it? The dude says the top issue, I believe, is the sheer number of cases. This has been exacerbated recently due to the COVID pandemic. Our court system has done well in trying to address the COVID issues. As a judge, I would dialogue often with my fellow judges to find ways to do my part to assist with the volume of cases. As a prosecutor, I was used to moving a high volume of cases. Okay. The lady says there's a lack of basic understanding of the court system and processes among litigants in civil matters. Most often, people are not able to afford to hire an attorney and miss an opportunity to exercise their rights due to lack of understanding. Okay. As a judge, it is my priority to make sure that people are educated to their rights and responsibilities and make sure they are not given unequal access to justice based on their inability to hire an attorney. That's good. Greater understanding of the law should result in more cases being resolved in mediation prior to protracted litigation. Okay. I don't know. Sounds good. Given shortages of prosecutors and defense attorneys, this is by the way, I think this is probably getting boring. And there's a lesson in that too. Sometimes it's going to get a little boring if you're trying to figure out who you should vote for. You gotta do your homework, man. You gotta slog through it. You gotta just hang in there. And really, it shouldn't be that boring because no matter how mundane the details seem to get in these things, this affects you. Always remember, I'm looking into this because it affects me. The people who win these races are going to be in my government that is governing me. So how that could be not of interest to me, the voter, or to you, the voter, is astounding, mind-boggling. How could you not be interested in that, is what I'm trying to say. Given shortages of prosecutors and defense attorneys, what will you do to protect the rights of defendants and crime victims? Follow the statutes that have specific time limits and look to what the facts are in each case for good cause on whether to grant adjournments. Continue in the practice of issuing scheduling orders by which various hearings had to be done to keep cases moving. The lady says the right to a speedy trial is in the interests of victims, defendants, and the public so that matters can be resolved and justice achieved. It is critical to have staffing ability to keep cases moving through the courts smoothly and efficiently. In addition to improving practices for staff and attorneys, I want to make sure that defendants, and especially crime victims, are fully aware of their rights under the law. So, and here's something that I that's kind of funny. This is an aside, really, but I can't help but notice that the dude, who I believe is the conservative in the race, has this tiny little photo in this article, and the lady, who I think is the liberal, has a great big photo that takes up like the whole column on the page. It's fair and balanced. It's totally unbiased news. There's a lot of bias in some of the most subtle editing choices. There's all sorts of ways that the media tries to manipulate us. So, but I was about to say, I tend to care about the issues first and foremost. I do think that character counts. I think the character of a candidate is more, well, I shouldn't say more important. It's important, the character and values of a candidate, but just like, are they a good person? Do they do the right thing? That kind of stuff. Character, it does matter, and I don't buy this argument that, well, as long as they do what I want, um, then it doesn't matter if they're a nasty person. Yeah, it does though. It will. Trust me. But that I can talk about that at some length. That's a rabbit trail. The point I was going to make is I tend to care primarily about issues about what does the candidate believe, what are they going to do, what are their values. Let's just skip down to brass tacks. What are the laws you oppose? What are the laws you want to pass? What are the laws you want to uphold? What do you want to do? Cuz okay, that's probably the most important thing. Probably. Um, Characters probably, it might be more important. I'm not sure. That'd be a good thing to think about for a while. But um, most of the people that you will find running for office, it's going to be really difficult to judge their character without knowing them personally, and they all put their best foot forward and trying to make themselves look like good people, and probably, most of the time, a lot of them probably have decent character. They wouldn't be successful enough to run a campaign and have the experience that they have. But again, that's a lot of probablys. How much people like politicians, right? How reliable they are. So, issues are important. Character is important. Experience comes in second to the issues. I can't find any issues that are swaying me towards one of these candidates or the other, though. So, I am going to look at the sample ballot again because I forgot what the name of the office is, and I have to write it on my piece of paper. There it is. What is their experience? This person has been a municipal court judge for like 7 years. So they've already been a judge. Fellow of the Wisconsin Law Foundation. Oh, look at that. Takes aim at tackling truancy. I might have to read that article. Well, that's pretty much all it says about her experience, really. What about the dude? Bachelor of Arts in 1984. 1987, Juris Doctorate member. Lots of law licenses. Practiced criminal prosecution. Practiced civil law. Practiced municipal prosecution. He was with a private law office and then a sister assistant district attorney, assistant city attorney. Married, has kids. Boy Scouts, church, school, whatever. Tried roughly 350 jury trials. Logged a total of 30,000 hours in the circuit courts. Well, that's not bad. They both seem pretty experienced. So that's not very helpful, is it? I mean, just looking at their experience, I would think they would both probably do a fairly good job. I would have to meet them both personally and sit down and talk to them for some time in order to get any kind of an idea of how good their judgment is generally. I can't read that article because I'm not a subscriber. I wonder if I can find it somewhere else. I see you. Don't do it. My cats are wrecking stuff. You know that meme of the cat at the restaurant where it just looks and it goes. My cat kind of did that just now. She was like, "I'm going to knock this over." And then I pointed the spray bottle at her. It's just got water in it. And she went and just looked at me. And then she went, "I'm going to knock it over." And then I sprayed her. So cute. Interview. Da 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 ba. Okay, this is interesting. This is an interview with the lady. We asked what of her background as a municipal court judge prepared her to become a circuit court judge. Said that. Oh my gosh. Silly cats. She said that the municipal court, which is defined as a community-based alternative to the criminal justice system, involves cases of many different natures. The civil court process is different than that of the criminal court. Her expertise is not in criminal law. However, she worked with the Corporation Counsel's Office for 11 years, gave her enough exposure to criminal courts to understand that system. What distinguishes her from her opponent? Her immediate response was that I think the primary thing that I would have to say is that I'm still in the race. Because he suspended his campaign briefly. At the time of our interview, she did say he has focused his entire career with Sheboygan, with the county in criminal law. Her experience has led her through government, private practice, nonprofit experience, and more that have given her a broader perspective. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. She said it's not about conservative versus liberal. She believes that judges must be nonpartisan because people should never feel that their going to receive a different experience in the justice system based upon the beliefs of a judge. She said she has worked hard to not be perceived as aligned either one way or the other. Yeah, I'll say. As a result, she's seen as a very fair judge, pointing to several experiences in which municipal court defendants who she'd found guilty asked if they could give her a hug because they felt that she had heard them and listened to them, and so that's always her goal. And in Tori's opinion, if she wanted to do something to affect the law, then she would run for the legislature. Oh man, it is too late for me for me to be doing this, and be careful. I don't care that the criminals that she sentenced as guilty wanted to give her a hug. That does not strike me as very important. She's seen as a very fair judge. Said she might want to be in a higher office. One thing I would like known about me is just my commitment to children and families in our county. That's something that has come through with everything that I have done. She said it connects with her service to nonprofits working with those who have been abused or neglected, and to be able to help families in crisis due to mental health or drug issues, factors that become apparent when dealing with frequent truancy and other cases that land young people in the courts. Related several municipal court cases in the past month where young offenders were caught using drugs while in attendance at local schools. Feels we're at a crisis point. Need to keep these subjects from falling through the cracks. Said she believes that creative sentencing, making resources available to the offender, can help positive outcomes that ultimately provide a solution and not simply a correction. Okay. You know what I might do? I might just have to upload this video in parts because this is an hour and a half long and I really have to pee. So, I think I've expressed maybe all of the main points that I wanted to get across, though, in simply my silly cats. Just simply talking about kind of bringing you along for the journey of doing some research on some candidates. I want to bring you along on the journey for the rest of the ballot, but it's going to take a long time, and this video is already an hour and a half long, and I don't want to make you just sit here while I run to the bathroom and come back. So I'm going to just end this video, figure out what I'm going to do with it, if it goes to YouTube or Rumble or both, and then film part 2. And so look for part 2, and I'll see you in the next video.